Well, hello and welcome to another hardcore Nuzlocke. Today I want to attempt a run of Pokemon White 2 using only ground type Pokemon. I've done ground type runs in the past and they've been very fun. However, in earlier generations, ground type tend to be paired with rock type, giving it a crippling weakness to both water and grass type. Things have changed since then and ground types have really come into their own, and Pokemon White 2 has a nice group of Pokemon that we can choose from, so this should be a very fun and interesting run. Every one of my runs starts on this website right here, the Nuzlocke tracker. It's also an app that you can get on your phone. This is not a paid promotion. I just wanted to show this off because it's really awesome. It shows you all the encounters that you can get in the game. If you hover over a certain Pokemon, it'll show you where you can find that Pokemon. It also shows all of the post-game encounters as well, which makes this thing a little bit imperfect because we can't get Stunfist. I wish it broke it up. The other thing that it doesn't show is if you have a pure grass type Pokemon like Seedot and it evolves into a Nuzleaf that has a part dark type, and if you don't encounter Nuzleaf later on in the game, it doesn't show it as a viable dark type encounter. So, it's not a perfect list, but this is a great start because it also shows all the different Pokemon trainers, Elite Four members, champion battles, any boss battles. It shows levels, held items, movesets, base stats. It is a great starting point for any Nuzlocke, and I've used this thing throughout most of my runs, and it helps out tons. This also shows any and all major boss battles and their level caps. Just a great app, and I wanted to show it off. You're probably going to hear this a couple of times throughout this run, but I absolutely love Generation 5. These games are very well done. The storylines are great. The callbacks in Black 2 and White 2 to Black and White I think are awesome. Like meeting old friends like Bianca here and Charon and so on and so forth. They're just very, very great games. There are a few things that I dislike, but for a game that is 12 years old, they still feel very modern. I love the art style, everything about them. Now, of course, as far as Pokemon are considered, none of our starters can be ground type, so I chose to use the Universal Pokemon Randomizer and change Tepig into Sandshrew. I think Sandshrew is going to be a good starter Pokemon. It is later going to be outclassed, so why not? This isn't going to make or break the run. I could have chosen any of the ground types available to us, and after mowing through the Nuzlocke tracker, where it says we have 20-something encounters, we actually only have 10. So, that's what we have to deal with. Babs is the name that I want to stick with, and of course there is a nickname theme for our Pokemon. Can you guys guess the name theme? Before we progress any further, let's take a look at Babs here, and Babs has a mild plus special attack and minus defense nature. Not great, but I'll take it. It is our starter. And I absolutely love Sandshrew. Sandslash is one of my favorite shinies. Just like in every run before this one, we nickname our rival Algorithm. Why, you may ask? Well, we're trying to beat the Algorithm both in-game and in real life. The in-game Algorithm I'm going to be able to handle on my own, but the real-life Algorithm I need your help to beat. And how can you help me beat it? Very simple. You can like the video, you can comment, you can subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, share it with your friends. Any and all interactions with the channel does help out a ton. Now, I may sound like a broken record here, and I know some of you guys don't like this part, but an overwhelming amount of you coming back each and every week aren't subscribed to the channel. Over 68% as a matter of fact. If you would just take a couple of seconds to hit the subscribe, it means so much to me. I know it seems so minuscule and minute, but it does matter in the grand scheme of things. It helps me out a lot. It doesn't cost you anything, and it is greatly, greatly appreciated. Let's beat this Algorithm together and make this channel grow. I want to thank you guys, though, for the continued support each and every week. It is very, 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 very appreciated. Ooh, I think my mom hit her head on something. Take Tepig and go see many different Pokemon. I didn't get a Tepig. We got a Sandshrew. Mom, you need to go lie down. The early game tutorial stuff is a bit daunting to go through each and every time I do one of these runs, but we got to get through it, and the fact that we do a different game every week makes the tutorial stuff minuscule. Plus, I have access to a speed up button on my very real DS here. Doing a defense curl rollout strategy is pretty much the only thing I have, and locking ourselves into a move like rollout in a Nuzlocke is very scary. Right now, Oshawott doesn't have much that it can hurt us with. It does have water gun, I believe, but it just chooses not to go for it. Eventually, the Oshawott, Duwat, Samurott team is going to be very dangerous for us. So we're going to have to come up with a better plan than rollout. I do think this part of the storyline is kind of crucial, yet silly. It plays on the fact that Algo's sister lost her purloin and T-Plasma stole it, and they're evil, and they like to take over the world, and they're kind of abusers, yada, yada, yada. But seriously, anybody that hurts an animal, I mean, a 10, 12-year-old kid, 14, however old we are in this game, shouldn't be the one to take you down. You should definitely be taken to jail by authorities. This herdier did nothing. It's a good boy. Now, we've got a lot of early game EV training that we can do. From Pat Rats and Purloins, we can gain speed and attack EVs, which is going to help us against the fight with Charon. Whilst we do this, I think I want to go ahead and tell you guys a story. It's been a while since we've done this, and I know some of you really like this. Nobody's commented that they don't like it, which is really, really good. Before we get started on the story, last episode I had talked about people going famous or going viral for stupid reasons, and I was trying to be funny and satirical, and I think the point got kind of missed where people were like, don't give up, your channel's doing so good. I do appreciate the positive words of affirmation throughout that episode, but the point was missed on my end. I was not being discouraged. For those of you that don't know, I've been doing content creation for the better part of 7 years now. Before this channel, I had another channel that used to do Minecraft videos once a week. I had over 500 videos on that channel, but the channel really didn't gain momentum and it didn't have a lot of foothold like this channel does. That channel was up for 6 years, over 500 videos, and it had just over 2,200 subscribers before I got discouraged and quit doing it. This channel is sitting at 500 subs less, and we've only been doing this one for a year. The momentum that is going on this channel is a lot better. That's because Minecraft is a very flooded market. For those of you looking at doing content creation, that's not a market that I would suggest you jump into. It's a very hard one to break. Before I go too long on that story, I want to get to the actual story I wanted to tell you guys today. A few episodes back, I told you about how I got my first ever copy of Pokemon Blue back in the late 90s, and today I want to tell you the story of how I lost it. I believe it was around March of 2001. The dates are kind of fuzzy, but nonetheless, I was in 8th grade, and I was in the last class of the day. It was close to the weekend. My mind was wandering on the things that I was going to do for the weekend, the friends I was going to hang out with, and so forth. When a call across the intercom in English class, I can't remember the teacher's name, but I remember the class, they called up Mrs. So-and-so and said, hey, can you send Zap to the office after school? Which I thought was really odd. Number one, why did they call me Zap and not my real name? All jokes aside, I thought it was odd because I've never been called to the office after school. I've been to the office plenty of times, mostly for disciplinary things. I was no stranger to the principal and their ways. Again, had a rough go at a childhood, so that reflected in my behavior. Part of me did not want to go to this meeting to see what was even going on. I wanted to go start my weekend, but part of me was very, very curious. Now, I have this gut feeling, this inner voice that tells me things, and for the entirety of my life that has been there, and when I don't listen to it, things don't go the way I would prefer them to go. If I listen to this voice, things work out. 100% of the time, it has never been wrong. And in this instance, it wasn't wrong once again, because that voice was telling me don't go, but the curiosity got the better of me, so I went. And they stuck me in a conference room. I sat down at the table. A lady came in, introduced herself as my GAL, a guardian ad litem. For better terms, it's basically a child attorney. She was supposed to look out for the betterment of me in what was about to happen. Then she sat down and explained to me that because of what had happened at my house, the different events, the drug abuse, the drinking, physical abuse, things like that, we were all getting taken into foster care for the foreseeable future. Then they were going to spend about a year trying to rehabilitate our biological mom, and the ultimate goal was to put us all back together and live a happy life. I chuckled at the thought of that because my mom had gone through rehab twice and came out the other end no different. So to change a person, that person has to want to change, and she never wanted to change. And that ultimately was her downfall. It's a huge thing to tell somebody at this age those types of things, telling them that their whole life was wrong and everything that they were living was wrong. Oh man, it was a devastating blow. Now, they told me that my siblings were going to go to another foster home and I was going to go to a separate one, and that wasn't because they wanted to split us up. That was merely because this other family had opted to continue to take me to the school that I was in, so that for the last couple of months there, I didn't have to move schools and redo a bunch of stuff. It was just a nice clean transition. We would finish 8th grade and then start 9th grade somewhere else. So, whilst she's telling me all of this, I'm just befuddled. She, of course, asked me, do you have any questions? And I'm like, yeah, about 1 million, but I don't know how to word them. So my only question really was, can I go back to the house and get some stuff? Because all I had on me was the clothes on my back, the shoes on my feet, the glasses on my face, and the Game Boy in my pocket. I had a Game Boy Color with Pokemon Silver. She said, absolutely not. Write me a list, and I will go get the things that you want, you know? So I told her, well, go to the apartment, get the top 2 drawers of my dresser because that's all my clothes. I was a teenage boy, so stay away from the 3rd drawer. Just don't even open it. Get the top drawer out of my desk because that had some games like Pokemon Blue and Metroid. I had a few others, and I had a couple other things that I really, really wanted in there. And then I, of course, asked for the bottom drawer of my dresser, which had all of my Legos. This lady wrote all that down and said she would get back to me. A couple weeks have gone by at this point, and I'm at the foster house, and I've had to resort in going to like the Lost and Found to find clothes because they have done nothing for me. When I confront the GAL about the clothes, she says, oh, well, we didn't want to deal with the heavy amounts of confrontation going back to your apartment, so we've given a credit to the foster family to buy you clothes. And then when I talk to the foster family, they're like, no, we didn't get any money. So wearing other clothes that belong to other people, and you're walking through the hallway and somebody's like, hey, man, that's my shirt. I've been looking everywhere for that. You're like, oh, well, let me take this off. You can have it back. It's very, very embarrassing. And I was already going through a very hard time. Inevitably, I never got any of my stuff that I asked for or requested. So that's how I lost my copy of Pokemon Blue. I had Pokemon Silver and a Game Boy, so it wasn't a total loss. Again, these stories, I'm not looking for clout, I'm not looking for empathy or nothing. These are just stories of my life, and I want to share them with you guys so that you can better know the man behind the mic. Now, with all the stories and stuff out of the way and some EV training under our belt, let's take on the first gym leader, the normal type expert, Charon. He's got a Pat Rat and a Lillipup, and as you guys will notice, we are not playing challenge mode. Talked about it in the past. The best way that we can do challenge mode would be to keep the level caps that we're currently at and then do challenge mode. These Nuzlocks are a challenge in themselves, and I'm not quite ready for challenge mode. This is my second run through of White 2. Let me get a couple more under my belt, and then we will definitely play around with it. Now, the only strategy I have, of course, is Defense Curl Rollout. This is RNG based because Rollout can miss. Also, locking ourselves into a move is pretty dangerous in these Nuzlocks. The Pat Rat goes down in a couple of rollouts, and if everything goes according to plan, we should easily take out the Lillipup. Unfortunately, it outspeeds us going for workup, and then we, of course, miss rollout. Yeah, it goes for another workup, and we fire off a single rollout, which doesn't quite do half. We then get hit with a tackle that does a decent amount of damage because of the +2 from workup, and then we fire off another rollout that takes out the Lillipup, but woof, that was a close one. Getting to Verbank, we run right into some family drama.
Daddy, chill.
Defeating Charon not only gave us a badge, but it also gave us the access to the C gear as well as the TM for return. Using the C gear, we can actually access the Pokemon Dream World. Inside of the Dream World, there is a default location called the Icy Cave, and we can use this to get another encounter right before we take on Roxy. And that encounter happens to be a Baltoy that we name Fifi LaFume. It has a bold plus defense and minus attack nature, It comes with the moveset of Rapid Spin, Gravity, and Zen Headbutt, as well as the ability Levitate. This is a great Pokemon, especially right before a Poison-type gym. Now, just because we have a Psychic-type Pokemon against the Poison-type gym leader Roxy doesn't mean this battle is free. Things can always go awry, so in preparation I did do some EV training on Fifi. It did learn Psybeam right before the level cap, and I have a Pecha Berry equipped on both Fifi and Babs, just in case. At turn 1, I go for Psybeam against the Coughing, and my worries were for naught because we one-shot. Whirlipede comes out next and goes for Protect turn 1, which is a bit annoying, but no matter, we fire off a Psybeam turn 2, and it too one-shots, so never mind, I was well over-prepared. This is one of the few things in Generation 5 that I absolutely just think is bonkers, and why? Why do we need to do it?
No, God! No, God, please, no! No!
Finally, we are on the boat and we are heading to the big city of Castelia. Getting to Castelia City is going to open up so much stuff for us. We have so many things that we need to do. The first thing that I do is head to Route 4 to start filling up some Pokedex pages, and I run into our next encounter, Sandile. This one has Intimidate. It doesn't matter the ability of Sandile. It has Moxie or Intimidate. Both are great moves. It has Stab, Ground, and Stab Dark type. It has Coverage. This thing is absolutely goated. One of my favorite Pokemon, and we've used this thing before. We know it is a very, very beastly Pokemon, a force to be reckoned with for sure. Of course, we have to catch this thing. After a couple of rapid spins doing a little bit of damage, we start throwing some Great Balls at it. Luckily, we don't have to worry about the Sandstorm out here on Route 4 because of our ground typing, and after a couple of Great Balls, we do catch the Sandile. I, of course, stick with the name theme, and I nicknamed this thing Shirley. Taking a look at Shirley here, it has a Hasty plus Speed and minus Defense Nature. Perfect. Whilst doing a little bit of crawling around in the underground, we have the first evolution on the team with Babs evolving into a Sandslash. As I said before, I absolutely love this Pokemon. It is one of my favorite shiny Pokemon. Unfortunately, I know and you know that Babs is going to be outclassed in just a little while. A little further in the sewers, we have access to the best item in the game, the leftovers. Just a pile of food that we're going to attach to our Pokemon. Ugh. After filling up some Pokedex pages, we can get access to another great item, the Eviolite, for seeing over 40 Pokemon. This is going to be a great held item for an upcoming encounter. Crawling around at the end of the sewers, there's access to the Relic Passage, and in the Relic Passage, at a 5% chance, we can find an Onix. In the Dust Clouds, you can also find a Drillbur. I would rather get the Onix and save Drillbur for later, because this is the only place that we can actually get this Pokemon. Later on in Charnstone Cave, we get access to a Metal Coat, where we can finally evolve it into a Steelix, so it's a great Pokemon to add to the team. Of course, first, we have to catch this thing. After doing a little bit of damage, we do start lobbing some Great Balls at this Pokemon to no avail. Eventually doing a little bit more damage and then throwing a Pokeball at it, which does finally catch it. Beautiful. Sticking with the nickname theme, we nickname Onix Elmira, and can you guys guess the naming theme yet? Taking a look at Elmira here, it has a Jolly plus Speed and minus Special Attack Nature. I couldn't ask for better, to be honest. I did actually spend quite a bit of time strategizing for the battle with Berg. You would think having Bug-type Pokemon, this would be a breeze, but his Swadloon knows Razor Leaf, and his Levani is part Grass-type. With Stab, Razor Leaf that has a high critical hit chance, things can go very wrong very fast. I do lock myself immediately into Rollout, not worrying about the Defense Curl, because Swadloon wants to go for String Shot. Luckily it missed, and we can take this thing out with a second Rollout. This means that we outspeed the Levani. That's beautiful because a third Rollout connects and is enough to one-shot that absolute monster of a Pokemon. It's surprising to be that scared of a Bug-type Pokemon this early in the game, but it was a huge threat and we went through unscathed. Dwebble comes out, and we're going to tag this thing with a fourth Rollout, but it has Sturdy, so it's going to survive on a single HP. It goes for Rock Polish to boost its speed because the AI loves to be faster. Berg then uses a Hyper Potion to fully heal up the Dwebble, and we fire off a fifth Rollout that takes it right back down to its Sturdy. We are outsped and hit with a feint attack the next turn, but no matter, I go for the more accurate magnitude, and of course we fire off a magnitude 7. It didn't matter, and we take out the Dwebble, winning us the 3rd gym battle. So out on Route 4, we encounter this person, Colress. Pretty cool person throughout the entire game. We do have to battle him, and he has Steel-type Pokemon, which are no match for our ground typing. The Sandstorm also doesn't matter. In our normal-only run, this was a very scary battle, but here, it's not. Now, I go for Magnitude turn 1, and I really shouldn't have done that because Magnemite has 30, survives on 1 HP, and hits us with a very weak Magnet Bomb. Colress then uses a Super Potion to fully heal up the Magnemite, and what I should have done is done a little bit of chip damage and then taken this thing out. Crush Claw doesn't quite do half, which is awesome, and now we can take this thing out with a Magnitude 9. This is another thing that I don't like about Gen 5 is the fact that Sturdy works as intended. It's a bit annoying, but we will try to work around it in future battles. Another Magnitude 7 takes out the Clink, winning us a pretty easy Colress battle. Another 5% chance encounter here in the Desert Resort is a Trapinch. In this Pokemon, it is very imperative that we catch this thing, put it on the team, and make it survive all the way until the late game, at least until the Drayden battle. I need this Pokemon for the 7th and 8th gym because Flygon is the only Pokemon that we will have on our team that takes neutral damage from Water-type moves. So we do a little bit of damage, ensuring that we don't KO this thing from a random crit, and we start throwing Pokeballs at it. The first Pokeball that we throw catches this Pokemon. RNGesus is smiling upon us today. At least in this part. Sticking with the nickname theme, I nicknamed this thing Buster. Can you guys guess it yet? Taking a look at Buster here, it has a Rash plus special attack and minus special defense nature. Everything's coming up Millhouse. Speaking of everything coming up Millhouse, right before the battle with Elisa here, we have Shirley evolving into a Krokorok. Just an absolute goated Pokemon, as I said before. Just take a look at this thing. Against Elisa in her Electric-type Pokemon, I lead Elmira. I know we had Shirley just evolve moments ago, but Elmira has a stab super effective Rock-type moves for the Flying Squirrel that comes out turn 1. Of course, we do get outsped because Electric-type Pokemon are super fast, and we get hit with a Pursuit that doesn't do much damage because we have a very, very high defense. Smackdown unfortunately doesn't one-shot the Emolga, leaving it at very low yellow health, so Elisa goes for a Hyper Potion, fully healing up the Emolga. It doesn't matter though, Smackdown brings it right back down into the yellow as it was previously. We do get outsped and hit with another Pursuit, but again it's just a little bit of chip damage because of our insane bulk, and one more Smackdown takes out the flying Emolga. Out comes Flaffy next. We outspeed the Flaffy and go for Dig. I forgot to mention that we got Dig out on Route 4. It's a huge upgrade for our ground-type team. A single stab, super effective Dig takes out the Flaffy. Last out is Zebstrika. We do get outsped and hit with one more Pursuit, taking us down to 57 HP. Again, just a little bit of chip damage. And then we burrow underground with a Dig and pop up one-shotting the Zebstrika for an easy Elisa battle. Not only do we win a badge for this, but we also get upgraded to Miss Unova. We are a fashion icon in the Unova region once again. There's nobody better. The T-Plasma stuff in this game is just absolutely annoying. We have the Pajama Pita people meeting the Space Pirates for the first time, and then we have Algo. Yeah. Hold up. I was looking at my trainer card accidentally. I was going to save my game, and I have a nature. I have a hardy neutral nature. Well, look at that. That's pretty good. I wonder what my base stats are. We have our arch nemesis here, the ground-type gym leader, Clay. His ground-type Pokemon are great. Our ground-type Pokemon are better. He leads, of course, a Krokorok, and I lead Shirley. This is for Intimidate v Intimidate, Krokorok versus Krokorok Showdown. It's really not, it's just to get the Intimidate drop because I swap into Fifi, expecting a Bulldoze, but Krokorok goes for Torment. No matter, I should bait out a Dark-type move, swapping into Babs, who does in fact get hit with a Crunch. We can then fire off a Crush Claw that does well over half of Krokorok's health, and then we get hit with another Crunch. It's weird, I would have assumed it would go for Bulldoze for the speed lowering, but no matter, we hit it with another Crush Claw, taking it out. Sandslash is out next, so it's a mono-e-mono showdown. We go for Crush Claw against it, doing about a third, and then we get hit with a Bulldoze down to 53 HP, which annoyingly gets the speed drop. That's okay, our Oran Berry pulls us back up above half. We are then outsped and hit with a Crush Claw, but it does minuscule damage because we've trained our Sandslash better than he did. Crush Claw then takes Sandslash low, getting a defense drop as well. We get hit with a Fury Cutter, which is weird. I could have survived anything with a non-critical hit, but it goes for Fury Cutter. Interesting. Another Crush Claw takes out the Sandslash, and last for Clay is his beastly Excadrill. I do swap immediately into Shirley to get that Intimidate drop, because we definitely need it as we get hit with a Metal Claw. Yeez, that did a lot more damage than I thought it should have. We do outspeed though and can go for Dig, popping up and hitting this thing with a Stab super effective ground type move, one-shotting it for the win. We then have all the Poke World Tournament stuff, where we're forced into a tournament battle. I wanted to backtrack after doing all of that and talk to this guy to get the Rocky Helmet. This is a great held item that we can put on Elmira. And then I'm definitely going to spend some time here at the World Tournament doing a bunch of different tournaments so that we can gain battle points to start getting some of these different items. There's some TMs that we want, of course, as well as some different held items. The Swords Dance TM and the Brick Break TM are two of the ones that I'm most interested here in this side of things. And then, of course, on the other side of things, the choice items as well as the Wide Lens. Maybe even the Life Orb, I don't know. We definitely want to rack up the battle points to get some of these items. The Razor Fang as well. Tracking through the Mistralton Cave to get the TM for Rock Slide, we have our next encounter, a Drillbur. Now remember when I said that Babs was going to be outclassed soon? The time has come. Drillbur, or more importantly, Excadrill, is a beast of a Pokemon. We did one-shot it on Clay's End, but we're going to EV train ours, and it's just going to be a force to be reckoned with. Of course, we do a little bit of damage with Fifi here, and then we throw an Ultra Ball at this Pokemon, and luckily for us, once again, we one-shot it and catch it, if that makes complete sense. Moving on. We're going to nickname this Pokemon Dizzy. Taking a look at Dizzy here, it has a relaxed plus defense and minus speed nature. The minus speed not great, and the plus defense I really don't need when this thing evolves. We have a bunch of evolutions on the team. Gaining a single level on our newly caught Dizzy evolves this thing into a beastly Excadrill. You guys are soon to see how great this Pokemon really is. Next up we have Buster, evolving into a Vibrava. As I've said before, this Pokemon has been on the team just sitting in the back. I don't want this thing to die. I need it for a couple of future battles towards the end of the game. Another Pokemon that's kind of taken a back seat, but deserves an evolution nonetheless. It did get us through the second gym, and it has gotten us through some key trainer battles as we've made our way to Mistralton City. Getting towards the end of Chargestone Cave, we can finally get our hands on a metal coat, which will round out our evolutions. Elmira finally evolving into a beastly Steelix. Unfortunately, it loses its rock type, gaining the steel type. It's still a ground type, so we won't get stabbed from our rock type moves anymore, but this thing has the biggest base defense out of any of our team. Skyla is up next, and with a little bit of planning, a little bit of training, and a little bit of luck, we should be able to beat her. Her Swanna is a force to be reckoned with, being part water type, and could easily knock out a good portion of our team. I do lead with the beast of a Pokemon Dizzy against her Swoobat, going for Swords Dance turn 1. The Swords Dance is to ensure that we two-shot the Skarmory in the back. We get hit with a Heart Stamp that does get a critical hit, but it still doesn't do a lot of damage, and then we connect with a Rock Slide that easily one-shots the Swoobat. This is the little bit of luck. We need Rock Slides to connect. Swanna comes out next. We do outspeed, and we do connect with a Rock Slide, easily one-shotting that Pokemon that could have wiped our entire team. Skarmory is out next, and we outspeed it and tag it with a Rock Slide that does well over half of its health. It goes for Agility, which is a little bit annoying because now it does outspeed. It just goes for Steel Wing, which doesn't do much to us. Doesn't matter, another Rock Slide connects, and we knock out the Skarmory, winning us a very easy gym battle. And now we're on a plane heading to Lentimus Town. Again, I love these animations, that's why I show them off. This is a great cutscene. In between Lentimus and Reversal Mountain, we have another encounter, a Numel. Now, I was training Buster up. We use a Rock Slide because we have a very low attack, but it still does a lot of damage to the Numel. We do get a flinch, which is really nice, and I've stocked up on Great Balls and Ultra Balls, so I just throw an Ultra Ball at this Pokemon, and again, we've had some really good luck in this run because we catch it with the first Ultra Ball. Very nice. Sticking with the nickname theme, we do nickname it Hampton. Taking a look at Hampton here, it has a modest plus special attack and minus attack nature. That's really, really good. With a quick bit of training, we can easily evolve Hampton into a Camerupt. This is a very welcome addition to the team, and of course, Fifi has been put in the box on standby for now. Leaving Undella Town, we have a rival battle with Algo. We haven't had a battle with Algo in quite a bit. He does have an upgraded team, and his Samurott is definitely a force to be reckoned with, and I am a little bit nervous going into this battle. However, I do have a plan. Unpheasant leads out for Algo, and I lead with Dizzy. This Pokemon is absolutely a beast. Unpheasant likes to go for Protect turn 1, which it does, or Detect rather, so I go for Swords Dance. With a +2 boosted super effective Rock Slide that does connect on the next turn, we can easily take out the Unpheasant, and out comes Samurott. I decide to go for my most powerful attack, which happens to be Earthquake. It is Stab and +2 boosted, and enough to one-shot the Samurott. I didn't think it would, but it did. Simisage is out next, and this Pokemon is equally as dangerous as the Samurott, but we do outspeed it and fire off a Stab Iron Head that one-shots. Okay, never mind, Algo was easy. Lacunosa Town has a lack of no things to do other than get the Metronome item. Lacunosa, lack of no... You know, sometimes these jokes write themselves, and sometimes they're just a tad forced. I'm sorry. They did put a lot of effort into making this town very nice and extravagant, I think, but there's really not a lot going on except for the upcoming battle with Zinzalin. The battle happens to be a double battle against Zinzalin in a Team Plasma Grunt, and then we, of course, have our rival Algo helping us out, which doesn't really matter. On the surface, Zinzalin is dangerous with Ice-type Pokemon, but I have the absolute unit known as Dizzy. We outspeed and hit a Stab super effective Iron Head that cleanly one-shots the Cryogonal, no boost needed. Samurott really doesn't do anything trying to go for Encore against the Golbat as it hits us with an Acrobatics, which doesn't do much because we resist. Sneasel comes out next, does outspeed us with a Snatch, but it doesn't matter. A Stab super effective Iron Head easily one-shots the Sneasel. Get hit with an Air Cutter from the Golbat because Samurott is trying to go for Revenge. Revenge doesn't do a lot of damage against the Golbat. Algo, thank you so much for your help. I do have Rock Slide to take out the Golbat. Again, Dizzy is just an absolute unit. This just leaves Garbodor coming out next, so I fire off a Stab super effective Earthquake. We do a lot of damage to the Samurott because I don't care, and we one-shot the Garbodor. The next area is the Village Bridge, and again, there's not a lot going on. There's a couple of items we can grab, but we do meet this guy, Stonewall, that wants to beat us for his 1000th battle win streak. He does have a pretty decent team with both Durant and Lucario, which could do some damage to our Pokemon. No matter, I lead once again the absolute unit known as Dizzy. This Pokemon is phenomenal. I can't help but not use it. Earthquake doesn't quite take out the Durant, and it just goes for Dig, which is a bad move on its part, because an Earthquake does double damage whilst it's underground, knocking out the Durant. Lucario comes out last for Stonewall, and again, there's nothing it can do against Dizzy as we fire off a Stab super effective Earthquake, one-shotting the Lucario. After getting across the Village Bridge, our next route is Route 11, where we have another chance encounter at getting a Gligar. We do get outsped and hit with a Slash on turn 1, doing a decent little damage as we go for Yawn. This Pokemon can evolve into a Gliscor, which is beastly, and I'm excited to potentially be able to use this. We get hit with an Acrobatics that does a decent amount of damage, more than I would have liked, and then of course we take some recoil from Takedown. Gligar then falls asleep, and we throw an Ultra Ball at it, but our luck of catching Pokemon in one single ball has run out as it breaks out. It stays asleep, and we go for another Ultra Ball, and this time we catch the Gligar very, Very nice. Sticking with the nickname theme, we nickname this Pokemon Plucky. Taking a look at Plucky here, it has a hardy neutral nature, just like me. Very nice. We have another pretty big evolution extravaganza. First, we wait till nighttime and equip the Razor Fang on Gligar. Give it one single level and it evolves into a beastly Gliscor. Welcome to the team. Next up is Buster evolving into a Flygon. I've kept this thing on the back seat to keep it alive this far because it is very pivotal in the next couple of upcoming battles. So welcome to the team, Flygon. Last for the evolution extravaganza is Shirley evolving into a Crocodile. I did wait until the level cap of 48 because it learns Earthquake, and this thing is just absolutely goated, as I said before. The 7th gym leader is Drayden and his Dragon-type Pokemon. Now, way back in the Desert Resort, we caught Buster, and I had a plan for this Pokemon. In Lentimus, there's a move tutor where we can teach Dragon Pulse to a Pokemon. It has a plus special attack nature. I've done special attack EV training as well as speed. I have the choice specs equipped. We should be able to one-shot Drayden's entire team. This is why research is very, very important. We've planned this out from the beginning of the run. Druddigon goes down to a single Dragon Pulse, Flygon comes out, gets outsped, and falls to a single super effective Choice Specs boosted Dragon Pulse, and last for Drayden is his Haxorus that does get outsped and falls the exact same way to a Choice Specs boosted super effective Stab Dragon Pulse. The Team Plasma stuff that we have to do here at the end of the game is a bit monotonous, but it's part of the storyline and we have this speed up button. Opelucid City gets attacked by Team Plasma as soon as we beat Drayden. They're looking for the DNA splicer so they can splice Kyurem with either Reshiram or Zekrom, depending on the game you're playing. The Team Plasma stuff. Ugh. We got a ton of it to do after Marlin, too, so we might as well get to it. The cutscenes are really nice, though. I do love the cutscenes of Gen 5. One of my favorite things about doing a Black 2 and White 2 run is going through the Marine Tube. I've actually never seen the Frillish out in the water, so that's pretty cool. I've yet to see the Whale Lord. One of these runs we will definitely get to see it. You get a medal for it. But again, this is just one of my favorite things in Black 2 and White 2. The last gym leader is Marlin and his water types. This is a battle I've been planning for since the beginning of the game, and my original plan was to lead out Buster and go for Giga Drain. However, that plan is a little bit flawed as I can't one-shot the Whale Lord, so instead I lead Hampton, which I know seems very weird, and we go for Yawn against the Caracosta. We then get hit with a quad super effective Stab Scald, which takes us all the way down to 1 HP, because we had a held Focus Sash. We can then swap into Dizzy. Dizzy swaps in on a Crunch because it's going to go for a random move. And then Caracosta falls asleep. This allows us to set up a Sword Stance. The Caracosta stays asleep. We can then fire off an Iron Head, which doesn't take him down to Sturdy, surprisingly, but does take him low enough that Marlin uses a Hyper Potion, fully healing him up. Another Iron Head takes him right back down to low red health, and then we can finish him off with an Earthquake. The +2 was needed because as the Whale Lord comes out, we fire off a +2 Stab Earthquake, one-shotting it, and then Jellicent is last, and we can take it out with a +2 Stab Earthquake as well. Very well planned out battle and very well fought. The critical hit on the Jellicent was not needed. In the Giant Chasm, we have another encounter, a Piloswine or Piloswine, depending on how you want to pronounce it. Everybody always getting mad at me for my pronunciations of words, and it is what it is. Like, Pilo? I don't know. Pile is P-I-L-E, but Pillow is P-I-L-L-O-W, so what's the right one? Pillow, Pilo, how do you pronounce that I? It could go anyway, right? I do throw the Dusk Ball at Piloswine, and we of course don't catch it because our luck has run out in catching of Pokemon. I am worried that Hampton's going to get a little low as the Yawn finally puts Piloswine to sleep, so I swap into Dizzy. This is just so we can resist any moves if and when this thing does wake up. I then throw an Ultra Ball at this Pokemon, and of course we catch it on the second ball, so yeah, it is what it is. Sticking with the nickname theme, I do nickname the Piloswine Furball. Unfortunately, our team is full up, so it goes to the box. Running back to the Pokemon Center to check this thing out real quick. Furball has a Rash plus special attack and minus special defense nature. I think I'm going to run it more as a physical attacker. I don't know yet. Aboard the Plasma Frigate, we have the final battle with Zinzalin. And this battle goes exactly how all the other battles went. This time I was smart and I didn't level up the one Pokemon on the team to the level cap. I've been leveling everybody equally. So as I gain one level with Dizzy, I'll swap the entire team until everybody's at level 54. A stab super effective Iron Head takes out the first Cryogonal. The second Cryogonal comes out, and it too falls to a stab super effective Iron Head. And then last for Zinzalin is his Weavile, and once again it goes for priority Ice Shard, doing a little bit of chip damage to Dizzy, and then we can fire off a stab super effective Iron Head, one-shotting the Weavile. Last up on the Plasma Frigate is Colress. We have super effective moves into all of his team, so this battle should go in our favor. Magneton and Magnezone both have Sturdy, so we're going to have to play around that. I lead Buster out against the Magneton and go for Dragon Pulse turn 1, which does a decent amount of damage, breaking the Sturdy of Magneton. We then get hit with a Flash Cannon, and it does well over half of our health. I did not expect that, but I can fire off a stab super effective Earth Power to take it out at the very next turn. As the Magnezone comes out, I know I can't survive another Flash Cannon, so I swap into Dizzy, who hasn't been healed since the last battle and does take a Flash Cannon very well. We fire off an Iron Head to break the Sturdy, and we get the flinch. A follow-up stab super effective Earthquake knocks out the Magnezone. Behem comes out next, and I swap in Shirley, who gets hit with an Energy Ball on the swap in because I forgot this Pokemon even had that. Again, it does well over half of our health, but we can fire off a stab super effective Crunch to take that thing out. Klinklang comes out next, and this thing has an Air Balloon, which I completely forgot. Not wanting to lose Shirley, I swap into Hampton, who tanks a Giga Impact on the swap in at just below half health. Again, some crits would have definitely ruined this run. Klinklang has to recharge, so we can fire off a stab super effective Heat Wave to take it out. Metang comes out next. I swap Hampton out, not wanting to lose it, swapping back into Dizzy as Metang goes for Agility. It doesn't matter because Dizzy is an absolute unit, firing off a super effective stab Earthquake, one-shotting the Metang, winning us the Colress battle. We then have another great cutscene with Kyurem trying to attack us, but N comes in and saves us with Reshiram and Fusion Flare. Again, I just love the cutscenes of Generation 5. Getsus is a bit annoying. You know, he's got his whole plan for world domination, and we have to go through this entire dialogue, and then of course he brings out the DNA splicers. Kyurem attacks Reshiram. Reshiram tries to survive, but ultimately is caught and fused with Kyurem, making Kyurem white. Which of course we have to battle, and I still have Buster up front, which is probably perfect. We fire off a Dragon Pulse turn 1, and it does well over half of Kyurem White's health. That's beautiful. We get hit with a Fusion Flare, and I was a little nervous when this move was fired off because it's so animated and gorgeous. But we survive it at well over half of our health, so a critical hit would not have taken us out, and one more Dragon Pulse takes out Kyurem White. One of the last major boss battles that we have before taking on the Elite Four is Getsus and his absolutely stacked team. He leads with a Cofagrigus that likes to go for Toxic and then Protect to stall you out. The rest of his team can do some serious damage to my team, and I lead Buster because we had him up front for the Kyurem White battle. Now I have a plan. The plan is simple. We swap into Dizzy, who avoids the Toxic because we're immune, and then can read the Protect next turn, going for Swords Dance, boosting ourselves to +2. We can then go for our strongest move, Earthquake, and one-shot the Cofagrigus. It is now a sweep for Dizzy. Seismitoad comes out and falls to a +2 stab Earthquake. Drapion comes out and falls to a +2 stab super effective Earthquake. Electros has Levitate, so I switch it up for Iron Head. It doesn't quite get the one-shot, but it does get the flinch, doing well over half of Electros' health, so another Iron Head takes it out. Toxicroak comes out and falls to a +2 Earthquake, and last for Getsus is his Hydreigon. Hydreigon is a beast of a Pokemon, but no match for Dizzy as it falls to a +2 stab Iron Head. After all of the Team Plasma stuff, I make my way back to Driftvale City to reteach Furball here Ancient Power so that we can evolve this thing into a beastly Mamoswine. I've said it before and I'll say it again, Pokemon Black 2 and White 2 have the coolest Victory Road gate check in my opinion. This is just awesome, I love it. We have our final rival battle with Algo at the end of the Victory Road. Now instead of leading with Dizzy, I decided to swap it up and lead with Plucky. Unfortunately, I need to get to +6 before we can sweep his entire team. So turn 1, I set up a Swords Dance getting to +2, and Unpheasant goes for Facade. Normally it likes to go for Swagger, but I will take the Facade. Turn 2, I go for Swords Dance, and then Unpheasant cooperates going for Swagger, getting us to +6, but also confusing us. I'm a little bit smarter than that and had equipped Person Berry so we heal off the confusion, and then can take out the Unpheasant with a super effective +6 Thunderfang. Samurott comes out and it too falls to a +6 super effective Thunderfang. Next up for our rival is Bouffalant. I don't have a fighting type move on Plucky, so I just go for Night Slash, which leaves Bouffalant on a sliver of health, and then it goes for Head Charge. This is a bit scary as a critical hit would have taken us out, but we go unpunished, and Bouffalant takes itself out from the recoil. Simisage's Outlast for our rival, and a +6 super effective Ice Fang takes out the Simisage, winning us the rival battle. Before I make my way to the Elite Four, I backtrack to the beginning of Victory Road for a chance encounter with Golurk. I know this seems odd to be adding a teammate this late in the game, but I do have a plan. I decide to try to put this thing to sleep with Yawn as it goes for Curse, lowering its health by half. That's perfectly fine with me. The Curse is a bit annoying on Hampton, so of course after we take a little bit of chip, I swap into Shirley. Shirley gets an Intimidate off as we get hit with a heavy slam, not doing much to us, and Golurk falls asleep. Perfect. We can then throw Ultra Balls at this thing to catch it. I should have just thrown my Master Ball, but we do catch this thing on the first Ultra Ball, so it doesn't really matter. Now, sticking with the nickname theme, I am going to nickname the Golurk Montana Max. And for those of you guessing the nickname theme, it is the Tiny Toons characters. If you ever watched that show when you were a kid, that's all these characters. Taking a look at Montana here, it has an Adamant plus attack minus special attack nature. Awesome. The Klutz ability kind of sucks though. After a fair bit of training, here is our team all leveled up to level 58 to match the Elite Four's level. We have Shirley the Crocodile with Crunch, Brick Break, Aquatail, and Earthquake. We have Buster the Flygon with Dragon Pulse, Earth Power, Heat Wave, and Giga Drain. Dizzy the Excadrill with Earthquake, Swords Dance, Iron Head, and Rock Slide. Furball the Mamoswine with Ice Fang, Earthquake, Toxic, and Protect. Plucky the Gliscor with X-Scissors, Swords Dance, Sky Uppercut, and Ice Fang. And rounding out the team is our newest team member, Montana Max, the Golurk with Drain Punch, Thunder Punch, Ice Punch, and Earthquake. Can this team beat the Elite Four? There's no time like the present. Let's find out. The first member of the Elite Four is Chantel in her Ghost types. Against her lead Cofferegus, I lead with Shirley, with Stab, super effective Crunch. I also have the Choice Band equipped for that little bit extra damage, and we easily one-shot the Cofferegus, the Chandelure, the Golurk, and her Drifblim. As her Drifblim goes down, we do take some damage from Aftermath, but no matter, that was an easy win. Next up for the Elite Four, I decide to take on Grimsley and his Dark types. I'm leading Plucky in this battle, and Plucky doesn't have Stab on his Fighting type move or Bug type move, so we're going to have to do a little bit of setup. It's not going to be as easy as a sweep as Chantel was. Turn 1, I go for Swords Dance to get to +2, and we get hit with a Night Slash, doing a decent little bit of damage. I'm worried about the Intimidate from Crocodile in the back, so I go for another Swords Dance, getting us to +4, and we get hit with another Night Slash, taking us down to 101 HP. We could have easily survived a couple of critical hits there, so I wasn't worried about it, and then we fire off a +4 super effective X-Scissor that takes out the Liepard. Out next is Scrafty. It goes down to a +4 super effective Sky Uppercut. Crocodile comes out and drops us to +3 with the Intimidate, but no matter, a super effective +3 Sky Uppercut takes out the Crocodile. And last out is Bisharp, who is quad weak to fighting type moves, so it easily falls to a +3 quad super effective Sky Uppercut. I decided to take on Caitlyn and her psychic types next, and it should be no surprise that we are once again going to lead with Shirley, the Choice Band, and Stab super effective Crunch against her entire team. This should be an easy sweep. Turn 1, surprisingly, Caitlyn decides to swap out Musharna into Reuniclus. It's because Reuniclus has Focus Blast, but no matter, a Stab super effective Choice Band boosted Crunch takes out the Reuniclus. Sigalith comes out next, and it too falls to a Stab super effective Choice Band boosted Crunch. Gothitelle falls the exact same way, and Musharna comes back out, and it too falls to a Stab super effective Choice Band boosted Crunch. Once again, an easy sweep. Normally Marshall and his fighting types prove to be very difficult for my runs, but of course I've done 2 normal type runs and a dark type run here in Generation 5. Now we're doing a ground type run, and I have a secret weapon, Montana Max, that is completely immune to his fighting types. Unfortunately, I forgot to teach Montana Max Fly, because for whatever reason Golurk can learn Fly. So I just fire off a Earthquake, and it gets a one-shot because of a critical hit. That is a great showing for this Pokemon. Sock comes out next, and we fire off an Earthquake, and it takes it all the way down to its sturdy, and I forgot that Sock had Payback. So this is going to do double damage against Montana Max, but we tank it on 50 HP. A critical hit, of course, would have taken us out. Marshall then uses a full restore. We hit it with an Earthquake to take it right back down to its sturdy, and then I just fire off a Drain Punch to take this thing out. Mienshao comes out next, and not wanting to lose Montana here, we swap into Plucky, as Mienshao goes for Bounce. Whilst it's up in the air, I go for a Swords Dance. It comes down and does a little bit of chip damage with Bounce, and then I fire off a +2 Sky Uppercut that unfortunately doesn't quite one-shot, leaving Mienshao on a sliver as we get hit with the high jump kick. I then decide to just fire off an X-Scissor to take this thing out, leaving Marshall just his Conkeldurr. I don't want to lose Plucky here, so I swap into Buster, but Conkeldurr's going for Bulk Up. I go for Dragon Pulse, and unfortunately it doesn't quite do half. Now I'm not sure if that's a range or not, so I just go for another Dragon Pulse, and we get the range because of a critical hit, winning us the Elite Four. Champion Iris is no joke. She has a completely stacked team, and of course is one of the hardest trainers in Unova. Against her Hydreigon, which is a beast of a Pokemon, I am going to lead Buster. We should be able to take out the Hydreigon with a single Choice Specs boosted Dragon Pulse. But more importantly, this is going to bait out her Lapras, which is the biggest threat against our team. A Choice Specs boosted Dragon Pulse is in fact enough to one-shot the Hydreigon, which is absolutely amazing. And as I thought, this does bait out the Lapras. Unfortunately, there's not a single Pokemon on my team that can take 2 hits from this Lapras, and I don't want to lose Buster, so a choice has to be made. I decide to swap in Furball on the incoming Ice Beam, which we tank fairly well, get a little bit of health back from leftovers, and then we can just fire off an Earthquake for a little bit of chip damage. The incoming Stab super effective Surf, though, ultimately spells the end for Furball's reign on the team. Getting a little choked up losing a Pokemon because we've made it this far without a single death. I then decide to swap in Dizzy against the Lapras because we have the super effective move Iron Head. None of my Pokemon could one-shot this Lapras, which is why we had to have a sacrifice. A super effective Stab, Iron Head does take out the Lapras, and this baits out the Druddigon next because it has Flamethrower. So because it has Flamethrower, I decide to swap into Shirley, and it's going for Focus Blast, which I completely missed that it had. So the miss on Focus Miss is very, very nice. Not wanting to lose a Shirley to a Focus Blast, I decide to swap in Buster. Focus Blast actually hits this time, doing a decent amount of damage to Buster, but not one-shotting. If it had crit, it definitely would have. But no matter, we can take out the Sheer Force Life Orb boosted Druddigon with a Choice Specs boosted Dragon Pulse. Buster, you have been a phenomenal Pokemon on the team. Out next for Iris is her Archeops, and not wanting to lose another teammate, I decide to swap into Dizzy, who tanks a Dragon Claw fairly well. We get hit with another Dragon Claw because we're outsped, taking us down to half as we set up a Swords Dance. Archeops then decides to switch up for Rock Slide, which connects and gets the flinch. That's very annoying. We then get hit with another Dragon Claw all the way down to 35 HP before we can finally hit an Iron Head, taking out the Archeops, and my plan was to set up and sweep the rest of her team, but the life orb takes us down to 16 HP as the Aggron comes out, so we are forced to swap because I don't want to lose another teammate. I decide to pivot into Buster on an Earthquake, which is a beautiful read, and then figuring this thing was going to go for Rock Slide, I decide to swap into Shirley for a little bit of resistance and the Intimidate drop, but Aggron goes for Autonomize, raising its speed. Interesting choice. No matter, a quad super effective choice band boosted Brick Break is enough to one-shot the Aggron. Next up is Haxorus. We fire off a Brick Break that doesn't quite do half, and then we get hit with an X-Scissor that takes us down to 16 HP. Again, I forgot this Pokemon had that. Not wanting to lose Shirley, I decide it's time to swap out. Our team is getting beaten and battered at this point, but I swap in Plucky. Dual Chop misses on the swap in, which is beautiful, and then we fire off a super effective Ice Fang that doesn't get the range. Leaves Haxorus on a low health, but gets the flinch. I know Iris is going to go for a full restore, so I stay in and go for a Swords Dance. Then we fire off an Ice Fang that takes Haxorus right down to its Focus Sash as it goes for Dragon Dance. Dragon Dance is a bit scary on this Pokemon because it fires off a Dual Chop the very next turn. Luckily, it doesn't get a critical hit on either one of the attacks, so we do survive it on 74 HP and can fire off one more Ice Fang, winning us the champion battle. This was an absolute great run. I had so much fun running these ground-type Pokemon, and I always forget how much fun they are to play with. We had a really great option of diverse Pokemon that had some really good stab options as well as good coverage, and I thought we picked a really good team for the Elite Four. Unfortunately, nothing we had could one-shot Iris's Lapras, so we had to sacrifice a Pokemon, and Furball made the ultimate sacrifice. The fact that we still have 4 other Pokemon in the box is pretty awesome, and we made it through this run almost deathless. This team was great. Got to use some Pokemon I've never used before, and a couple of old favorites. Excadrill, a beast of a Pokemon. Now, as the team rolls across the screen one last time, I want to thank you guys for the continued support. If you liked the video, please hit the like, leave a comment, consider subscribing if you're new to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next one.